Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So behind me, you guys can see what I've done, and a lot of that doesn't really matter. It's what I've done. And tonight is more about what you guys are going to do and how we get you guys to that point. So the first thing I want to ask is who here, show of hands, and I know there's several of you out here that are 5K runners or not runners at all. So who here does not think that they could run a full marathon if they had to at the Cellcom Marathon? Show of hands, who doesn't think that they could run it? Right? Yeah, raise your hands high. Like let's be realists, right? Let's be real about the goals that we set. All right. So there's still it's a good chunk of people, right? But now, so you've got an Ironman, right? An Ironman is 2.4 mile swim. It's a 112 mile bike ride, and then you run a full 26.2 mile marathon, all in 17 hours. Who here does not think that that is possible? So some of you marathon runners now, yeah. So look around, right? Lots of hands in the air. All right. So you guys see my record. Some of you have picked up the pack back there, and you've seen the plaque and things of that nature, right? Who here does not think that they could go out and break my world record at the Cellcom Marathon if they had to? Show of hands. I'm going to tell you right now that the reason that your hands are in the air is the exact reason why you can't do it. Number one on the answer key is believe that it is possible. As soon as you start to believe that something is possible, you've taken the first step to achieving it, and I promise you, you will achieve it. All right, it doesn't matter. If you want to lose 100 pounds, first thing you got to do is believe it's possible. If you want to make $1 million, first thing you got to do, believe that it is possible. All right, that's where it all starts. I didn't wake up one day and realize that I was going to break the Guinness World Record or even attempt it, right? That was an accumulation. It was this consistency and things like that got me to that point, right, to where I started to believe that a world record of that magnitude was in fact possible. And we'll get into that journey. Once we get to the value of the journey is where I'll start to share some of my stuff. But I just want to lay out for you guys this simple answer key. Henry Ford, one of the icons of America, right? Super famous quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Think about that for a minute once when you were raising your hand. Now look back at it, and you've already said why you can't achieve that goal. That goal is not something that's that difficult. Really, when you look at the number of people, millions of people across the country or the world have run marathons. So it's not unrealistic, right? Millions of people have become millionaires. It's not unrealistic, right? Millions of people have lost 50, 100 plus pounds. Everything is possible, right? So another awesome quote I pulled down was, until you try, you can't possibly know what you can't do, right? So if you're not stepping out there and you haven't tried, then you really can't say that I can't do a marathon or I can't become a millionaire. The next thing is the plan, right? Everybody's got a great plan. We all start with great plans. In my experience in the Army, we're the king of great plans that never succeed, right? We're still at war 19 years later. It's a great plan, but we're still there. So life happens, be adaptable, and plans need room for change. That is what you have to remember. Huge snowstorms happen in Wisconsin, right? If I'm an outdoor runner and I only like to run outdoors, that plan might have to change and have some flexibility to it. And that's what you need to understand through this process, is that things to your plan change. Last year, who remembers Cellcom being canceled last year, right? Numerous people trained super hard to be able to run Cellcom. But it's how you let moments like that affect you, right? A moment that is completely out of anybody's control. Trust me, the race director wanted to have the race in the worst way, and I promise you fought to have the race regardless. But it's completely out of the control because it is 100% the weather, something that we cannot control, right? Don't let that affect your goal. There's plenty more marathons coming up shortly thereafter. You're already trained. Just move your race down the road a couple weeks and go be successful. Got to grab some water here for a second. Discipline. Discipline is one of my favorite things, and it's one of the hardest things to get good at. Right? Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something that happens through repetition. over and over and over and over again. This is a key to success, is being disciplined. And we'll talk more about discipline here in a second, but this is really where the mental toughness is built. This is the miles on the treadmill that you hate doing. This is the horrible winter miles that we have to log here in Wisconsin to be successful on race day. This is making the right investments in your financial being to get to that point of $1 million, or it's being disciplined in your nutritional plan to lose the weight that you want to lose. All right, so we've got the compounding effect of consistency, right? This is the $1 million question. Show of hands. All right, you got two options. If you would take the $1 million cash, so over here I've got $1 million in cash, right? You can have it right now. Or you can take a penny that compounds, that doubles every day for 31 days. Who's going to take the $1 million bucks? Show of hands. Immediate $1 million, right? A couple of you. What if I offered $3 million? Show of hands. Who's going to take $3 million? What if it was $5 million? I've got $5 million here in cash right now. Who's going to take the $5 million or the penny that doubles every day for 31 days? Be honest, people. I see you guys doing math in your heads right now, but if there's $5 million in front of you, here's the numbers. 31 days, that money is worth $10.7 million by having the discipline. So your neighbor who took the $5 million, right? They bought the Ferrari. They put the huge addition on their home. They're burning through that $5 million. They've got about $1 million bucks left probably at the point that you hit 31 days, right? This same concept equates to running every day or staying on your nutritional plan every single day. When you hit that 31st day, you're not going to throw an addition on your house. You're not going to, go buy the Ferrari or the Bentley or whatever car, Lamborghini, whatever you're into. You're going to keep that money working, right? And keep it making more for you. It's the same thing with running, same thing with nutrition, same thing with education. You don't stop just because you got somewhere. You got to keep it going, right? So that's the compounding effect of consistency. It's crazy when you see the numbers, and you can all go home tonight and do the math. It checks out. I've done it a couple times to make sure. All right, so now we'll get into my journey a little bit here. So these are all things that occurred. Everything before the 18 months towards the world record, those are all things that occurred leading up to this point. So I've had 5 knee surgeries. I've got very little meniscus left or cartilage in either knee. They've just been scopes, but that's still wear and tear on the body. I've had my right shoulder has been reconstructed. So when I got my shoulder done, I asked the doctor, I said, hey, I've done a couple of triathlons. I want to do Ironman. That's what I want to do post-surgery is do Ironman. We got to get there. Help me get there. So he got me with some good therapists, and we got to that point. Then I went to Ranger School. I decided that, hey, I'm in the Army. I've been in the Army now for about 10 years at the time. I want to be an Army Ranger. It's a more elite force. It's a 61-day school where they only give you about 2 meals a day, and they sleep deprive you. Well, what happens when you're sleep deprived is your body starts to shut down. And what happened to me in Ranger School is my right shoulder decided that it didn't want to work anymore, and so I was unable to raise my right shoulder past about this point. Well, in combat, that would make you pretty ineffective. So I was talking to my Ranger buddy, and I was like, hey, Willman, I don't want to quit. How do we get it so that I can stay in this course? And what we came up with was we duct taped my hand to the pistol grip of the weapon system, and then I could carry the weapon like a sling, or carry the weapon and have my arm in a sling-type posture. So I supported the weapon's weight entirely with my left hand and my right arm, all using my left hand to be able to stay in the school and make it to graduation day. So one of the things that my Ranger buddies would do to help me get through the course, because you work as a team, and having that team around you, which is what a program like these training runs provide you, is that team. What they would do is they would get right in front of me and behind me when we would go through the pull-ups, because you'd have to do 6 pull-ups, and I couldn't get my arms up to the bar, or my right arm rather, so I couldn't do pull-ups. So I would have gotten kicked out of the course. So what they did was they got in front and behind me and snuck me in every time so that I could get under the pull-ups without having to do the pull-ups. And that's the brotherhood that's there. They're the ones at my lowest point in Ranger School, when the words came out of my mouth, that I now have a chunk of, so I have the words "Don't Quit" tattooed on the back of my leg. It's for me and it's for everybody who I run with, for them to see to not quit, right? And one of the reasons I got that tattooed on my body was we're walking through the mountain phase of Ranger School, and all you do is go up and down mountains all day long, and we call it the 21 for 21 is kind of like the nickname. It's about 21 days long, this phase, and they give you on average about 21 minutes of sleep a night. And so I was done. I was like, I'm done with this school. Turns out I don't need the Ranger tab. And I just flopped on the side of the mountain, and I was like, I quit. And my Ranger buddy, Wilman, again, was like, hey man, you've helped me. It's time for me to help you. Get up and let's start moving. And that's where the first time that it really hit me that it is as simple as put one foot in front of the other. And as long as you can keep doing that, you don't have to quit. And so that was the first time that statement actually resonated with me, and I was able to get through and eventually earn my Ranger tab, and then get the opportunity through a qualification process to go compete in the Best Ranger competition. So I was fortunate enough to be a finisher in the Best Ranger competition, which is only about 20 to 28 people in the Army finish that competition every year. When I did it, they took away water during the long walk until they had half the teams quit or pass out. And that was how they dropped the field in half for day 2. So that was day 1. So, and then we went about 18 to 20 miles, we figured, without any water, and about 60-pound packs. So those are the things that started to build the mental capabilities that something like the world record would be achievable in the future. However, it still wasn't even a thought. What came up was myself and Nick Grease started the charity Fourth Who, Wisconsin. And from that, we started a 20-mile Veteran Suicide Awareness March, and we started doing fundraisers. And we would ruck the Cellcom as a fundraiser. And it got brought up, hey, why don't you ruck the end of an Ironman, just the marathon part, not that difficult. And which I will tell you, it was very difficult. I passed out during it. But it came up as a fundraiser, right? So it had a significant purpose, a purpose bigger than myself, which made it more believable and more achievable for me, I felt like. So I trained for it, I prepared for it, thought I was in great shape. I got off the bike, and I made the mistake of thinking that running with the pack was a good idea. So this pack was about 40 pounds, and I'm roughly 8-9 hours of physical fitness into the day. I got about mile 15 and passed out on the course. And at first I was saying, so I had my buddy Jason walking with me at the time, and I was talking to my friend Sodi, who was living in another state. And that's when he knew things were starting to go south. Fell over, he picked me up, dumped some water on my face, and then I had a crew of about 12 guys who got me to the finish line, who walked with me, gave me encouragement, and legitimately dumped a gallon of water on my head over the course of a mile, every single mile to the finish, to cool my core. And that's what it takes. Sometimes you need those people around you. But again, it's that no quit. I've done all the work. This is just the compounding interest effect of all of my work. So now we get to the main piece of the talk. And that is how the 100-pound came about. Like all good ideas, there was plenty of whiskey involved. And we were sitting in my basement, and my buddy Jason said to me, hey, dude, you're one of the best ruckers I know. You beat everybody every time you put on a pack. It doesn't matter where you're at or what event it is or whatever. Nobody can keep up with you with a pack on. And so we typed into Guinness World Records, their little search. We were like, fastest 12-miler, because that's the Army standard, with a 35-pound pack. And nothing came up. Just some other events, but nothing for what we assumed. And in that was a 20-pound record and a 40-pound marathon record. And so we clicked on the 40-pound, and on the side was 60, 80, and 100-pound options for a marathon. And I said, well, Jason, you know, we got to do the 100-pound. It's the only option. And he was like, all right, I'm in, and we'll train for it, and we'll go out and crush this thing together. And so it was like 2 days later, because obviously we're hungover the next day. So we go because it takes plenty of whiskey to talk yourself into something this stupid, if you will, and especially for those of you that have lifted up the pack. So it's 2 days later. We go down to a shop and we add some weight into the packs, throw them on the scale, and we get them up around 95 pounds. So we didn't have enough stuff there that we could fit in the bags to get to 100 pounds. And you go to throw this thing on your back, and neither one of us could put it on our backs. So we had to do what we call the turtle. So you lay on your back, or you have the ruck down, you climb into it while it's down, and then you roll over on your knees and you do this stand-up thing. And that was the only way that we could get the pack on. And we were like, easy 4 miles. Let's just see how it feels, right? 4 miles, no big deal. We've done marathons before. We've carried packs for marathons. We made it less than a quarter mile. We turned around, went back to the shop, dropped the packs, and we said, let's never, ever tell anybody that we tried that. And let's just realize that this is Inhuman, the guy that holds the record, and the record at the time was like 7.5 hours. So let's just realize that this guy is Inhuman. He's a god, and honor to him. We should send him a card and just say, wow, you're impressive. And so we didn't talk about it for like 3 weeks. We were true to our word for like 3 weeks. And then I called him up one day and I was like, I'm going to do it. And he's like, do what? And I was like, I'm going to do that 100-pound record. And he's like, you're an idiot. You're on your own. And so off to rucking I got, and building from that quarter mile up to a half mile and so on and so forth. And eventually Jason joined back in. He saw the progress I was making. And he was like, hey, I'll train with you and I'll get you ready for the race, but I'm not going to do it with you. And I said, okay, that's fine. And so as we're approaching the race, I'm going through the Guinness packet of what I need to do, and I find out that it's $10,000 to bring in a Guinness officiant. And I'm not going to do that because I want to give all this money that's raised from this to charity, and I don't want it to go to pay somebody to come here. So I reach out to the Cellcom and I message them because it's the record 7.5 hours and the race closes in 7 hours. So I'm like, hey, I want to break a Guinness World Record at the Cellcom Marathon, but you need to keep the race open for me. And they're like, we don't know who you are. And like that, maybe, but we're not keeping the race open. You got to figure out how to do it in under 7 hours. So I go back to the drawing board because I know that 7 hours at that time is just not possible. No more than 2 weeks later, I don't have a choice but to go under 6:47, 6:45-ish, because somebody had broken that record by 45 minutes. Again, I reached a point of failure, right? As you can see, like you underperform and fail at times, right? So I reached a point of failure. I can't even go 7 hours. I'm questioning if 7.5 is even possible, and I've got 6 months of deliberate, hard training towards this goal at this time. And so I'm like, boy, Jason, I don't know if it's possible. So I hung up the pack again for a couple of weeks because I just didn't think it was possible. And then deep down inside, I was like, we don't quit. If we keep trying, eventually it will come together and we will succeed. And so I called Jason up again and I give him the same speech and I'm having the same speech with my wife. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this. It's going to be a huge sacrifice to us. But I need to do this. I can't sleep without doing this. This is what needs to happen. So for the next about 11 months, I trained and trained and trained and trained and trained. And it was really about 9 months later, I re-messaged Cellcom and I was like, hey, you haven't heard from me in a year, but I can now meet the core standards and now I need some things from you guys to make the packet official and make sure that when I do this, it is a valid attempt and it all works out. And so they were good, they were amazing, and I can't thank them enough because the record truly would not be possible without them and the support team that I had around me throughout the train up and the actual event. The day came and we were 45 minutes ahead of the world record at mile 18. And so it was brutal from there on in. Because I couldn't train past then because it was too damaging. So that day I lost about 1 inch of height. I've now gotten it back. But it was so physically damaging to the body that the last 2 miles, when I would step, my knees would just shake. Every step, knees would just shake. And so there got a point in with about 2 miles to go where I had over 30 minutes of excess cushion that I could have walked, I think it was like 28 minutes a mile. Ridiculously slow pace. And we were worried that I might not finish. So when people ask me about the world record and what it was like to cross the finish line and the achievement and that stuff, I usually tell them about the journey. Because the journey is really where all the reward was. That's where I learned more about discipline, more about myself, and where I got to evolve and learned about, you know, what it actually means to inspire somebody to do something bigger than themselves. So what I want to leave you guys with here is to remember your journey and your goals. They might be different than mine. So don't get hung up on the fact that, you know, you need to go break a world record or even do an Ironman or anything like that. But have goals in life. Have significant goals that are important to you. Here's just a couple of examples. One could be setting the example for your family or your friends. And have those goals. Put the pieces in place to be able to achieve them. And that first step is just simply believing that it is possible. Because I promise you, as soon as you believe, you are going to make it happen. It's absolutely that simple. So there they all are again. The repeat is because you just have to pick another goal. It's that simple. If once you accomplish something, don't be done there. There's no reason to stop at that point. Are there any questions?
What year did you do it?
2018. So a year and a half ago now, 18 months. There's been a couple of attempts on it. I know that's probably another question. So nobody's yet to break it, but I'm excited for the person who's willing to put in the work that it takes to actually go out and do that.
What was actually in the pack?
So in the pack is all steel plates. There's a 50-pound plate, a 25-pound plate, a 10-pound plate, and then the rest of the pack is comprised of small weights that we were able to move around during the marathon, so that if the pack got too heavy on my right shoulder or left shoulder, I could take these small 1 to 2 pound weights out and move them around on the pack to adjust its weight. I had the guy right here, Billy Pinebrook, actually carried all of my water and nutrition and had like a clock running as to when he had to feed me and give me the nutrition to make sure that I was able to stay in the race. So it was very, by the time the race happened, we were very dialed in and knew exactly what needed to happen. But again, there was a plan, and these guys will all tell you that plan was out the window the first second of the race, because the plan was to run 11:30-ish miles, 11-minute miles out the gate, and my first mile was in 9. My second mile was faster than my first. And by mile 3, I was getting yelled at by the entire team. And I was like, boys, man, I'm feeling good. We're going hard. So.
What was your finish time and how much money did you make?
So the finish time was 6 hours, 27 minutes, and 59 seconds. And the amount of money raised was right around $25,000. So. So I am a big fan of the Danner's boots. They make a really, really light boot. And I like that because I like the additional ankle support, especially when I'm carrying the heavier weights. But it's legitimately the weight of a running shoe. And what I do is I yank the insole out of it and I throw like a running type insole in it. So you basically get the feel of a running shoe out of a military style boot at about the same weight. So you get a lot more of that support, and that's what I've been a big fan of using. Great question.
What was the name of that again?
It's Danner's lightest boot. I can write it down for you later. It's like the Tachyon. Any other questions before I turn it back over?
What did you drink at the end?
So we had Guinness at the end, because you have to, and some PBRs. And I was pretty hungover the next day after that too. I have. We actually won the baton this last year. So I did it as a team with a bunch of guys in 2019. Yeah, beginning of 2019.
What was the question?
Yeah, the Baton Death March. So if I had ever done it, yeah, I've done it 3 times now. So it's a great race.
What are you doing next?
So yeah, great question. So that's my favorite question to ask people when they achieve something is what's next. So I've got the Zion, out in Zion, Utah, I'm doing their ultra marathon, their 100-mile run. And then I'm doing the Marquette 50-miler. And then my goal, and I'll say it out loud now, this is my goal for the year, is I intend to, and I'm going to train towards setting a new course record at the Margie Gessick 100-mile race. So, yeah. Well, usually I don't like to say that until it gets closer to the actual event, but we'll put it out there. That's the target for 2020.
When you talk about Portua and the fundraising opportunities, is it only the rough marches that you guys do, or do you do more?
Yeah, so great question. So the charity that I was a part of starting, and I'm still a significant part of, is Fourth Wheel Wisconsin. It's a local charity here in Wisconsin, primarily in the Green Bay area. And one of the running events we do is the 20-mile Veteran Suicide Awareness March. But there's a slew of other things, and you can just Google it online. The big thing is the programs that we do for veterans, and our focus is veteran suicide. So as a national organization, this year we saved just shy of 100 veterans' lives that had attempted or had plans to attempt suicide on their own lives. So it's a great organization. So my knees today are much better than they used to be. I do a lot more self-care than I used to. I used to just beat on them, and I don't do that anymore. Surprisingly, the ruck is heavy and abusive, but there's smart ways to train up to that distance, and that was an 18-month process to get there. So they are doing much better, but I mean we'll find out how they do at mile like 70 of a 100-mile run. So. It's new territory for me.
What was your recovery like?
So recovery after the marathon was miserable for a little while. So having lost a little bit of height, my spine and back were in some serious pain, and my wife will tell you they're still in pain because I like to complain about them often. And that's a part of that process is that I think I'm still recovering actually from that event. So it was painful, and I don't stretch nearly like I should. So nothing else. All right, sweet deal. Thank you all for your time. Really enjoyed it.